In a small village, there was a boy named Sanyo. He lived with his family, but recently, things hadn't been so happy at home. His mom, Hae-suk, had been very busy with her job, and Sanyo's dad, Kim-jong, was feeling sad because they didn't spend much time together as a family. One day, after dinner, Sanyo's parents announced something surprising. They were going to get a divorce. This made Sanyo very sad, and he quickly left the table, missing the chance to enjoy a family meal for the first time in a long time. Meanwhile, Sanyo's friend, So-kryu, seemed to have gone through some tough times too, but he had his family by his side. Sanyo saw how happy they were when they ate together and took family pictures, and he felt a bit jealous. Even though he had a lot, there was something missing, the warmth of his family. At the same time, Sanyo's mom, Hae-suk, was preparing to leave for a new job far away in Africa. She had worked very hard her whole life, but this meant she couldn't always be around for her family. When she heard that she had to retire soon, it made her feel very sad. Kim-jong, Sanyo's dad, was upset too. He didn't understand why she didn't talk to him more about what was happening. As the days went on, Sanyo and his sister Sanyu started to worry about their mom. She seemed forgetful, which made them think she might be sick. Then, Hae-suk suddenly disappeared one day, and Sanyu, and their dad went on a search to find her. After a long search, they finally found her. When they reunited, they realized how much they all missed each other. Despite all their misunderstandings, Sanyo's family learned that talking to each other could solve many of their problems. The family may have faced tough times, but they were able to heal together. And now, Sanyo could focus on his own dreams, especially after finding a secret message from Sanyu, which led him to a beautiful sunflower field in Gangwon-do. There, under the bright sun, Sanyo and Sanyu shared a special moment, realizing how much they cared for each other. From that day on, the air was filled with happiness, and Sanyo knew that no matter what happened, his family and friends would always be there for him. Sanyo was having a hard time. His family seemed to be falling apart, and he felt the weight of it all. His mom, Hae-suk, had been really busy with her job, and his dad, Kim-jong, was always upset because the family didn't spend time together like they used to. Things got worse when his parents told him they were going to get a divorce. It broke Sanyo's heart, and he ran out of the house after dinner, feeling like everything was falling apart. Not long after, Hae-suk had to leave for Africa for her new job. She was retiring soon, and it was clear that the years of being away from her family were catching up with her. She had missed so much time with them, and now it was too late to fix everything. Sanyo, who had always tried to act grown up, couldn't hold it in anymore. He had bottled up his feelings for so long, but seeing his family break down made him finally burst out. He yelled, cried, and let out everything he had been hiding. One day, while looking through some old things, Sanyo found something surprising. In a temple where they used to go, he discovered a note written by his mom. In it, she asked not to forget her husband and son. It made Sanyo realize that his mom hadn't forgotten them. She had been holding on to memories, just like him. Maybe that's why Sanyo had always tried so hard to remember every little detail about his mom, even when she wasn't around. Then something big happened. Hae-suk disappeared. Kim-jong, Sanyo, and Sanyu searched everywhere for her. After a long search, they finally found her. Hae-suk had been going through so much, and when they all reunited, it was like a heavy weight was lifted. They realized how much they missed each other and how important it was to talk and be honest. At the same time, Sanyo's feelings for Sanyu were growing stronger. They had been friends for a long time, but now, something felt different. Sanyo was nervous about what would happen between them. He left for a work trip to Gangwon-do, and while he was away, Sanyu missed him more than she realized. Nothing was fun without him around, and everything seemed dull. When Sanyo came back, they met in a beautiful sunflower field. The setting was perfect as they finally shared how they felt about each other. As they stood together under the sun, Sanyo smiled and said, "I don't need banana milk anymore." Sanyu looked at him, confused, until she realized what he meant. Their relationship had become so sweet and full of love that they didn't need anything else to feel happy. It was like all the sadness had been washed away by their love. Meanwhile, Sanyo's parents were trying to figure things out too. Despite everything, Kim-jong still cared deeply for Hae-suk. When she needed help, he was always there, lifting her up and taking care of her. Their relationship had been through so much, but it seemed like they were finding their way back to each other. As Sanyo's family healed and his love for Sanyu grew, life started to feel lighter. It wasn't perfect, but they were moving forward together. The future looked brighter now, with love and hope guiding them through. After Sukrayu's secret about her battle with cancer was revealed, everything changed. Her family and friends became more attentive, providing the support she needed. On the other hand, Hun Chun, who had long hoped to rekindle his relationship with Sukriyu, decided to leave for America. His departure felt especially heavy, as Sukriyu had not yet responded to Suho's confession of love. Time continued to pass, and even the milk Suho bought for Sukriyu had expired, a sign that her chance to reply to his feelings was slipping away. Yet, despite the lack of an official answer, their relationship grew closer after Han Chun's exit. One day, while Suho was with Sukriyu, basking in the sun at a park, the dynamic between them shifted. Suho appeared nervous, his face flushed with embarrassment, while Sukriyu started to notice Suho's good looks, something that Mame had often mentioned. Sukriyu recalled how Mame always talked about how handsome Suho was, especially when he was working. Now, she could see for herself how much Suho had changed, particularly since he had fallen in love with her. As they were chatting, Den-ho suddenly appeared from the opposite direction. Mame, still feeling embarrassed about accidentally kissing Den-ho a while back, quickly tried to avoid him. In her fluster, Mame even covered her face with a plastic bag out of shame. Den-ho, confused by her odd behavior, called out to her, but Mame hurried away without responding. Meanwhile, Suho's family was facing a significant crisis. Suho's father decided to divorce his wife after catching her meeting with the deputy foreign minister. This decision shocked Suho, who was devastated that his parents had never discussed such matters with him. His frustration grew when he realized that they had arranged a family dinner solely to announce their separation. Distraught and confused, Suho walked out of the dinner without saying much. Due to the growing tension at home, Suho considered taking a job out of town to avoid his parents. This decision created distance between him and Sukriyu, who increasingly felt the world was emptier without Suho by her side. "Without you, time feels like it's standing still," Sukriyu confessed during a phone call with Suho. Not wanting Sukriyu to remain in her sadness, Suho invited her to visit him. They spent their time together at a vast sunflower garden, enjoying the beauty of the blooming flowers. Their moments together felt precious, as if the world was theirs alone. However, the future of their relationship remained uncertain. Would Suho and Sukrayu's love grow stronger? And would Suho's parents really go through with the divorce, or was it merely a misunderstanding caused by their lack of communication? These lingering questions hung in the air as they both tried to navigate the path forward together. After their kiss, Bae Sukriyu hesitated for a moment before asking, "What are we now? What's our relationship?" Choi Sung-hyo felt a wave of shyness wash over him. They didn't define it right away but proceeded to lunch with their friends, Yoon Young-woo and Lee Na-yoon. During the meal, Choi Sung-hyo quietly placed a dish in front of Bae Sukriyu, a small but thoughtful gesture that made her heart flutter. She couldn't help but feel touched by his subtle care, though neither of them said much about it. That night, the two found themselves sitting outside under a blanket of stars. The silence between them was calm yet filled with unspoken feelings. Bae Sukriyu finally broke the quiet, asking, "Do you really like me that much?" Choi Sung-hyo, without hesitation, smiled and nodded. "I do," he said softly. "I'll always be with you." This gentle confession filled Bae Sukriyu with warmth, and she leaned her head on his shoulder, drifting off to sleep in contentment. Choi Sung-hyo glanced down at her sleeping peacefully beside him, his heart swelling with quiet happiness. He cherished this moment, feeling like everything was falling into place. The next day, they planned to go on a date and watch a movie together. Bae Sukriyu arrived at Choi Sung-hyo's office to pick him up. However, when she called his name, he responded absent-mindedly, still focused on his work and barely looking up. As they walked side by side to the theater, their hands awkwardly brushed against each other, but neither of them made the move to fully connect. "You don't seem that interested in me," Bae Sukriyu remarked, a hint of uncertainty in her voice. Choi Sung-hyo immediately responded, "I like you more than you know. I just don't know how to act when I'm with you." While they were navigating their budding romance, something else was brewing across town. Bae Sokrayu's mother and Choi Sung-hyo's parents were on a double date. During the outing, Bae Sokrayu's mother couldn't help but feel a pang of jealousy. She watched as Choi Sung-hyo's father enthusiastically took photos of his wife, making her look like a model. "Her husband makes her look so glamorous," Bae Sokrayu's mother grumbled to herself, feeling envious of the attention her friend was receiving. At the same time, Jung Moam, a close family friend, suggested to Kan Dan Ho, another mutual friend, that he take some time off from work to go on vacation with his daughter. Kan Dan Ho agreed, seeing the need for a break from his hectic schedule, and even invited Jung Moam to join them. Together, they spent the day at a nearby stream, laughing and playing with water guns. The lighthearted moments were a welcome escape from their daily routines, allowing them to bond in a relaxed, carefree environment. As the sun set, all of them, Bae Sok Ryu, Choi Sung Hyo, their parents, and friends, seemed to be finding their own way to enjoy life. But questions still lingered in the air. Would Bae Sok Ryu and Choi Sung Hyo grow closer? Could the small tensions between their families ease with time? For now, they all cherished the moments of happiness they shared, uncertain of what the future might bring but hopeful for what lay ahead. After Sok Ryu's secret about her battle, Bae Sok Ryu sat on her rooftop, attempting to read a French cookbook, though the effort was in vain. I can't understand a single line of this, she admitted with a sigh. Choi Sung Hyo, who was sitting next to her, glanced over the pages and said, "It's a recipe for beef stew, a common dish in France." His casual remark surprised Bae Sok Ryu. She hadn't realized he could still read French so well. "Can you read it aloud for me?" she asked with curiosity. He shook his head, reluctant. The book's too thick, but Bae Sok Ryu persisted, "Just a few lines, please." Unable to refuse her insistence, Choi Sung Hyo began reading aloud in French. His voice flowed smoothly over the foreign words, and Bae Sok Ryu, quietly recording him on her phone, found herself mesmerized. Before he realized it, he had read through several pages. As Choi Sung Hyo continued reading, Bae Sok Ryu slowly drifted off to sleep beside him. He noticed her soft breathing and chuckled quietly to himself, amused at how easily she'd fallen asleep. He lay down next to her, taking a brief moment to rest his eyes as well. When Bae Sok Ryu awoke, she saw him lying peacefully beside her, his face softened by the golden light of the late afternoon. She couldn't help herself. Gently, she reached out and touched his neck. Just as her hand made contact, Choi Sung Hyo stirred awake, and startled, she quickly pulled her hand back. Embarrassed, she muttered, "I saw your face when I woke up. It was so close, and there was a rainbow reflected on it. That's why I wanted to touch it." Choi Sung Hyo blinked, still a bit groggy, before standing up. "It's too hot out here. I almost got sunstroke donating my talents. You asked me to read, and then you fall asleep." Without waiting for her response, he walked away, leaving Bae Sok Ryu sitting there, feeling both amused and flustered. As he disappeared from view, she muttered to herself, why was there a rainbow on his face? Where did it come from? It's strange. The question lingered in her mind long after he was gone. That evening, they found themselves back together, staring at a carton of milk in Choi Sung Hyo's kitchen. They checked the expiration date. It was about to expire. Neither of them seemed to know what to do with it. The moment was oddly symbolic, both of them aware of the time slipping away, yet neither making a move to act on it. They each wanted to call or text the other, but hesitation hung in the air between them. Time passed, and soon enough, the expiration date came and went, leaving the milk untouched. "It's over," Choi Sung Hyo said softly, breaking the silence. Bae Sok Ryu, still unsure of her own feelings, found herself confused. Was this about the milk or something deeper? Choi Sung Hyo, on the other hand, felt a quiet sadness settle over him. He hadn't received the answer he had been hoping for, and the expiration of the milk felt like a small but significant sign, an opportunity that had passed without resolution. As they sat together, Bae Sok Ryu couldn't help but ask, her voice barely above a whisper, "Hey, what kind of relationship are we in now? Do you really like me that much?" Her words carried a weight of uncertainty, a question she had been holding inside for too long. Choi Sung Hyo looked at her, his usual calmness momentarily shaken by the directness of her question. "I was always with you," he said softly, his eyes full of sincerity. "I've been here all along, haven't I?" Still, the tension lingered in the air between them. Bae Sok Ryu looked away, feeling both confused and vulnerable. "You and Sung's dad. You made Hae-soo a supermodel," she mumbled, trying to change the subject slightly, but the words sounded distant, as if she wasn't fully invested in the topic. "Just make her come out for a long time and go. You don't have to tell me where you're going." Choi Sung Hyo furrowed his brow, unsure of how to respond. "Yeah, Sung," he started, but was quickly interrupted by Bae Sok Ryu's quiet, almost defeated voice. "Oh, I'm here," she said, as if answering an unspoken call. There was a pause, and then she added, "You don't seem to be interested in me." The words cut deep, her doubts spilling out into the open. Choi Sung-hyo was taken aback by her statement. He turned to face her fully, his heart racing. "I like you so much," he confessed, his voice tinged with frustration and desperation. "How can you not see that?" He hesitated, trying to find the right words. I don't know how to act when I'm with you." The honesty in his voice caught Bae So-kryu off guard. She hadn't expected him to be so vulnerable, and for a moment, she didn't know how to respond. They sat in silence, the weight of their emotions hanging heavy between them. Neither knew what to say next, but the unspoken feelings lingered, pushing them closer to an understanding they hadn't yet reached. The question of their relationship remained, but the truth was slowly emerging, bit by bit, in the quiet moments they shared together. At the end of the heartbreaking episode, So-kryu finally had to let go of Yeon-jun, and the reality of the situation hit her hard. Tears began to flow uncontrollably as she reminisced about the times they had spent together, the bittersweet memories of Yeon-jun being by her side, especially when no one knew about her illness. It was Yeon-jun who had always been there for her, his presence a source of comfort in her darkest moments. But now, So-kryu had to face the pain of losing him. In an effort to console her, Sung-hyo quietly stepped in. He gently took off his suit jacket and draped it over So-kryu, shielding her from the world as she cried. His gesture was simple, yet it meant the world to her. With Sung-hyo by her side, So-kryu felt like she could finally let her emotions out, free from judgment. The upcoming episode shows Sung-hyo sitting at the kitchen table, staring at a carton of milk. The expiration date had passed, and with it came a sense of foreboding. As he gazed at the milk, Sung-hyo couldn't help but wonder if this was a metaphor for his own love life. Would his feelings for So-kryu also expire? He was left to question what the future held for them. On a much brighter day, Sung-hyo and So-kryu spent time relaxing together under the sun. There was no denying that Sung-hyo enjoyed every moment he spent with her. As So-kryu lay in front of him, he couldn't help but smile at the beautiful girl. His smile was full of warmth and affection, a sign of the growing bond between them. Eventually, Sung-hyo lay down next to her, and an unusual yet comforting dynamic formed between them. So-kryu, intrigued by his closeness, reached out and gently touched Sung-hyo's neck, her fingers light against his skin. Sung-hyo, noticing her gaze, turned his head toward her, causing a moment of tension to build. Their connection was palpable. Meanwhile, in another part of town, Mo-yeom found herself in a hilarious yet awkward situation after kissing Dan-ho. Flustered, she tried to avoid him, her embarrassment so intense that she covered her head with a plastic bag. Her reaction caught the attention of Sung-hyo, who couldn't help but be curious about Mo-yeom's strange behavior. In her frantic attempt to escape, Mo-yeom ended up running in a random direction, only to bump into something on the road. The scene provided a lighthearted moment amid the heavier emotions swirling around. Things took a more serious turn during a family dinner, where Sung-hyo was blindsided by a shocking revelation from his father. His parents had decided to divorce. Sung-hyo, overwhelmed with disappointment and unable to process the news, quickly left the table. His heart ached with the realization that his family was falling apart, and he couldn't understand why they had chosen this path. The fact that they made the decision without considering his feelings made him feel even more isolated. Despite the challenges Sung-hyo faced, So-kryu became a beacon of hope in his life. During his most difficult moments, it was So-kryu who consistently sought him out, offering her support and asking him to visit her whenever he felt down. Slowly but surely, their relationship deepened. Even though neither of their lives was perfect, they found strength in each other. Together, they began to rebuild, holding on to the love and hope that would help them start anew, perhaps even crafting a better future filled with new possibilities.